I'm Ellis Martin today reporting from the Vancouver Resource Investment Conference in Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada. And one of the people that I visit with occasionally is a man from one of my hometowns. His name is Mickey Fulp. He's the mercenary geologist. He's quite a following in the sector, and it's always a pleasure to speak with Mickey on the program. Mickey, welcome to the program.
Hi, Ellis. Good to be here.
I'm wondering, let's go back about 5-6 years ago. If we saw gold at $1,100 an ounce, we'd be extremely excited, and we'd be investing in companies with a valuation of a lot more than what they're trading at right now. What are your thoughts about that?
Well, the price of gold probably about 5 years ago started making its big run. In actuality, I thought it got way ahead of itself. I thought 1900 gold was ridiculous. It went exponential, and when things go exponential, they will go parabolic. So it came down on the other end. We got to remember, it started this run at $400 or $300 actually in 2003. Finally got above 300 and stuck. So the present valuation of 1100, I think, is fair value for gold.
As an investor, what are you doing about it right now?
I'm sitting on the sidelines for the most part. I've taken some profits when companies make little runs, and I can take money off the table. I think you should always take profits, especially in a bear market like this. So taking some profits, I am being very cautious about where I deploy new money. Basically, I take money from profits and I'll put that back in the market when I find things that are compelling. But the days of pure speculation in this business are at least temporarily suspended.
At least, so you're a more conservative investor than you've always been, or have you always been a conservative investor, even in a speculative market?
I've always been a very conservative speculator in a speculative market. From the get-go, we designed a trading methodology that applied conservative metrics to this very speculative industry. In other words, take profits back in the good old days when things double, sell half, take all your money off the table, etc. So the methodology really hasn't changed, but now instead of looking for those doubles all the time, I will take interim profits to take money off the table and reduce my cost basis.
So do you think the days of doubles or 5-bangers or 10-bangers are over, or is it just temporary?
Well, I think there's still doubles and 5s and 10-baggers in the market. I think we've seen some of those over the last year. There's much fewer of them. The question, will this industry recover? Absolutely. The world needs metals. The world needs mining. The world needs energy. It needs oil and gas. You know, we've got 85 million more people on the planet every year. Most of those are in undeveloped parts of the world, or the so-called second-tier emerging market countries. And I think that's where growth will be. We will continue to grow shy of a complete economic collapse, but we still have 85 million more people that now with the internet know what we have, and they want that. So I'm bullish on the long-term future of energy growth, the long-term future of copper growth. So this is just a temporary boom and bust cycle in the mining business, which we've always seen before and always comes back.
This is still a sector where most people are completely unaware of the investment potential and have never invested in it. Is that correct?
Well, I don't think it's investment potential. It's speculation potential. Investment implies that a safe place to put your money that you expect a constant return. So this is a speculative business. It always has been, and it will always continue to be. Whether it will continue to be a speculative business for the Toronto Venture Exchange, I think is equivocal now. I'm not sure the Toronto Venture Exchange will survive. I am certain it will not survive in its present form, so it needs to be revamped or it needs to be replaced, and I think we're seeing the beginnings of that at this stage.
I wonder if that purge was intentional, the purge that hurt a lot of these mining companies, which in my opinion, probably yours, many of them had no value anyway.
Well, very few of them have any real value. The problem was the Toronto Venture Exchange set up a protocol that allowed companies to proliferate with capital pool companies with the abilities to take shells, and the same promoters take shells and kind of revamp them and roll them back and start over again. So that model has really hurt the business. We've got way too many companies. There's not enough good deposits, enough projects in the world to support even the number of companies now. And the stock exchange has been very reluctant to delist those companies, although under their rules they are obligated to do so because they have a conflict of interest. They get fees from the companies, and they're a publicly listed company owned by big banks in Canada. So it's a bit of a quandary, in my opinion.
You mentioned copper just a few minutes ago, something that potentially you could be excited about. Are you excited about it now? Are you making any investments in that area? The world needs copper. That's never going to go away.
I'm always looking for good copper companies. I would prefer new copper companies to come on the scene. This is the time that smart money gets deployed in distressed assets. There's a lot of things available in the world. I don't necessarily think that the depression in copper price is a short-term deal. It may be a medium-term deal, but we still use on a yearly basis in the world around 3.5% more copper. That was down last year, but we still used 2.5% more last year, so the demand for copper continues. Always looking for good copper companies.
I remember close to 10 years ago, perhaps, maybe it was 8 years ago, the speculation and the demand for, at least the perception of the demand for copper was very, very high, and it was my perception that there wasn't enough to meet that demand. Is there enough copper to meet the potential demand? China's still growing at a rate of 6% a year, no matter what anybody says. India's coming alive.
Absolutely.
Here in the U.S., I don't believe we're going to downsize. We're going to continue to consume. So what are your thoughts about that?
Well, I think the copper market continues to grow. I think, as with most commodities, we got a bit ahead of ourselves. Supply was increasing to meet projected demand. That demand slowed a bit. The growth still is occurring, but the growth has slowed, so we have a temporary oversupply of copper. That will be corrected very quickly. The world uses 60,000 tons of copper a day. If you look at official stockpiles, we still have maybe about 10 days of world production stockpiled in surplus copper. So kind of do the math. Copper bottomed, I think, last week. I hope it bottomed at $1.96. I hope oil bottomed at $26. They both bounced considerably. Copper's over $2 now. So, but even at $2 copper, a significant amount of world production loses money. That production will come off at some point, and then we have a supply shortage again, and the price will go back up. I just don't know the timing of all that.
You've mentioned oil and gas twice in this conversation, so I have to call you out on it. Are you speculating? Are you willing to? Or how about a prognostication for the next couple of years?
Well, the world is overwhelmed with a glut of oil right now, and with the distressed prices, what's happened? You would think that production would come off, but uneconomic production would be shut in. Au contraire. Find me a country in the world, name me a country in the world that did not produce more oil last year in this time of distressed prices, because there are so many countries in the world that they're like banana republics, except they're black gold republics, and they've got balance of payments, they've got social services, they've got to run their unstable, corrupt, or unfriendly governments to the Western world, so they have increased production. The production increased in the U.S., in Russia, in Canada, in China, in Brazil, in Nigeria, in Saudi Arabia. Just Venezuela, Mexico probably came off a bit because they're running out of oil, but that might be one of the few countries in the world that didn't produce more oil last year. So, given that paradigm, when's production going to come off? I have no idea. We could be saddled with a low oil price for quite some time, and that's of concern because oil runs the world. I think a lot of the distress in other commodities in the world, especially things like copper, where growth demand continues, is a trickle-down effect from the oil price.
Are you speculating in that area?
I'm looking right now. If I would deploy money right now in the oil business. Now, I own a couple of oil companies that are still giving me dividends, but I would be looking at big oil. I think that's where the recovery will happen quicker. So go find a big oil company, a blue chip oil company, and put money into that. That would be my target right now.
I've covered lithium companies on this program, more so now than previously. Is it a flavor, or is it something of interest that's here to stay?
It's the flavor of the year, in my opinion. It's the second lithium bubble. We've already seen one that failed in 2010 to 2012. This is all driven by speculation that Elon Musk is going to sell 500,000 electric cars in the U.S. in 2020, and I am of a strong opinion that is not going to happen, especially when I can pull up to the pump in Albuquerque, New Mexico, and buy gas today at $1.70. And there's rumors or there's analysts that say it go as low as $1. So what's the motivation for people to buy an expensive electric car that, by the way, has a bigger carbon footprint than most gasoline-powered vehicles? It's all driven by the speculation that, especially in Nevada, that there's going to be a gigafactory demand in Reno for lithium. I just don't think it's going to happen. That said, I own a lithium company. It used to be a gold company in Nevada. Now it's a lithium company. I'm very happy to speculate in that.
Which one is it?
Nevada Sunrise Gold. So
you come from New Mexico, but before that you grew up in Missouri. New Mexico and Missouri are both ethanol-producing states. Is ethanol dying too?
I would hope so, because ethanol has never been it's energy negative, so it costs more money to grow that corn and process it than the energy you derive from it. And that's the number one. Number two, it's bad for an internal combustion engine. You're burning 10% alcohol. So, that's a subsidized industry supported by congressmen from the Midwest in the significant corn-growing states. So I personally hope that goes away.
You had me thinking about catalytic converters through our discussion about ethanol. What are your thoughts on PGMs at the moment?
I think they're oversold. I think that platinum at $820 or $30 or $40 an ounce is a compelling buy. My choice for buying physical metals for the last year or more, maybe year and a half at least, has been platinum over gold because the ratio is out of whack. So platinum's undervalued with respect to gold in a normal paradigm. That said, where's the world's platinum and palladium coming from? South Africa and Russia for the most part. We do have some production in the U.S. and Canada, various other places, but I'm quite surprised that PGM prices have remained so low for so long. We're going to make more cars worldwide this year than we've ever made before, and you've got to have platinum and palladium for those catalytic converters.
Mickey, tell our listeners about your website.
mercenarygeologist.com. You can sign up for free. We run a sponsor model, so all my work is free. And for my subscribers, my stock picks are free too. And you can also tune in on mercenarygeologist.fm. This interview will be on that. And you can join 52,000 plus Twitter followers at Mercenary Geo.
Wow.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Yeah, well, we work at it. We have fun with Twitter. It's all over the place of things that interest me. It's not all about mining, but yeah, it's and we still have 6,300 subscribers to the newsletter.
Fantastic. Well, it's always a pleasure to speak with you. I look forward to visiting with you on your ranch next time I'm in New Mexico. Thanks for joining me today on the program.
I hope you call me and come by for a beer and some beef raised on the farm.
Or some fish that you happen to have in your freezer.
Well, we do have a lot of fish in the freezer. Everybody probably knows that fishing is my passion.
Looking forward to it, Mickey. Thanks again.
Thank you, Ellis. My pleasure.